If the Terminator franchise is ever to continue, it needs to move on from its attachment to time travel. The Terminator sci-fi movie series has had a history of commercial ups and downs, and since the franchise's peak with Terminator 2 Judgment Day, it has largely been the latter. In many respects, this can arguably be attributed to the Terminator movies being continually fixated on time travel as a staple element. Stay tuned as we discuss how the Terminator franchise can continue. How can the Terminator franchise continue? At 2022 San Diego Comic-Con, Terminator Dark Fate director Tim Miller commented that the Terminator movies could theoretically continue if a filmmaker were able to tell a new story on a low budget. After the box office failure of Dark Fate, which still received fairly positive reactions, the idea of the Terminator franchise continuing at all seems far-fetched, as Miller himself acknowledged. If another Terminator movie or series were to get greenlit, it would surely need to act as a major franchise reinvention. The Terminator movies are predicted on a future war between mankind and machines, with the machines under the leadership of the Skynet A.I. program sending Terminators into the past to kill the future leader of the human rebellion. While this was a novel concept in the first two Terminator movies, it has come to be an anticipated element of the franchise. That would need to change for Terminator to have a chance at continuing. The problem with how reliant the Terminator franchise has become on time travel is that it has made it increasingly difficult to tell any kind of new stories with the same concept being used consistently. By the time Dark Fate was released, audiences had a very set-in-stone notion of what to expect from a Terminator movie, which could be argued was a big contributor to the movie's unfortunate failure. That is the complete opposite of how new the concept of the Terminator mythos felt back when Terminator 2 made Arnold Schwarzenegger's T-800 a hero, and set the standard the entire series has tried to meet ever since. However negative the reception to Terminator Salvation may have been, it was at least doing something completely new for the series that is taking place in the post-Judgment Day war with machines. The two-season TV series Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles, while having to utilize time travel again itself, also tried a new story with the exploration into Skynet that it took. For a fresh approach to the Terminator series, angles like the war against Skynet and the future, or a Terminator prototype going rogue in the present day, would be curveballs for the Terminator franchise and would not need to invoke time travel to tell their stories. The box office decline of the Terminator series makes any proposed continuation one that would need to have a very strong pitch behind it to actually be realized. Whether as a Terminator TV reboot or a reimagining on cinema screens, it would also need to be one that either sets itself entirely in modern times or after Judgment Day to give the next Terminator movie its own identity. Time travel might have been what made the first two Terminator movies hit, but in the event that another Terminator film happens, the time has come for the franchise to move on from it. Many people look at the second Terminator movie, Judgment Day, and wish that following it, the franchise was taken in a different direction. With a few changes, the Terminator franchise could have had a consistent sequel trilogy after T2 Judgment Day. James Cameron's 1984 The Terminator spawned a fictional universe full of action, horror, and sci-fi elements that remain iconic to this day. Then Terminator 2 Judgment Day improved the first movie's formula with the introduction of Robert Patrick's T-1000 and Edward Furlong's John Connor, plus the drastic evolution of both Arnold Schwarzenegger's T-800 and Sarah Connor. But after T2, no Terminator sequel has completely captured the magic of the original two films. Sarah Connor's successful attempt to avert Judgment Day proved that there's no fate but what we make for ourselves, making it difficult for any other sequel to justify its existence. That didn't stop Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, Terminator Salvation, Terminator Genesis, and Terminator Dark Fate from using major retcons to revive the franchise, all of which ended in unanimously disappointing results. But even though the inevitability of Terminator's Judgment Day seems like the biggest obstacle for any Terminator sequel, there is a hidden supply of untapped potential that the Terminator franchise could have taken advantage of but didn't. Here's how we think the Terminator franchise should have been handled following the second film in the franchise. A sequel trilogy released after Terminator 2 Judgment Day could have moved away from John and Sarah Connor. The hypothetical Terminator 3 would explore the beginning of the post-apocalyptic future, future, which could go from the original Judgment Day to the rise of the Resistance. Terminator 4 would follow the Resistance's efforts to overthrow Skynet, and most importantly, show the original John Connor in all his glory as the leader of the Resistance. Then the Terminator sequel trilogy's logical conclusion would end with the Resistance's final attack on Skynet, with John Connor sending Kyle Reese to 1984, and Skynet's counterattack by sending the original T-800 after him. The actual Terminator sequels doubled down on tearing apart the first two movies. Besides ruining Sarah Connor's legacy and killing her off-screen, Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines made Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator a full-blown comedy relief character and wasted a more powerful model of the robot, the TX. Years later, both Terminator Genesis and Terminator Dark Fate continued to change Skynet's apocalyptic future and the rules of time travel. On top of that, Terminator Genesis turned John into a robotic villain, and Terminator Dark Fate killed off John Connor unceremoniously during the opening scene. The hypothetical Terminator sequel trilogy set in the far future would have done all the opposite. It would have respected the events of the first two movies, avoided overusing Arnold Schwarzenegger, shown a new side of Kyle Reese, developed Skynet, and put into perspective what could have happened had Sarah, John, and Kyle failed to stop Judgment Day. Moreover, it would have followed a very different adult John Connor and fleshed out his relationship with the man who would later become his father. And as a bonus, the cyclical nature of time travel would have allowed audiences to watch this trilogy right after the first two movies, or think of it as a prequel trilogy that expands the Terminator lore. The closest any Terminator sequel got to this was the unique Terminator Salvation. Salvation detached itself from the Terminator's typical structure, and it explored part of the franchise's dystopian future. But alone as it stands, it still seems like the middle part of an untold story, with John Connor neither rising as a leader nor changing the past. There's a whole Terminator trilogy hiding in the original movie's flashback scenes. Unfortunately, the only way to watch it is through Kyle Reese's nightmarish memories of the future, as the concept was ultimately a wasted one. In other film news, the recently released trailer for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever has given us a look at the new Black Panther suit. The first Black Panther movie became a worldwide phenomenon upon its release in 2018 and gave the Marvel Cinematic Universe a major new franchise to develop. Plans for Black Panther 2 began to move forward shortly after the first film's opening. Ryan Coogler returns to direct Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which includes returning cast members Letitia Wright as Shuri, Winston Duke as M'Baku, Denai Guerrera as Okoye, Lupita Nyong'o as Nakia, Angela Bassett as Ramonda, and others. The sequel is highly anticipated for its introduction of Namor, Tenoch Huerta. As the final movie of Phase 4, Marvel kicked off the Black Panther Wakanda Forever marketing campaign in a huge way. The first trailer teased the sequel's emotional storyline without Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa, and Wakanda coming into conflict with Namor, who is confirmed to be a mutant. One of the biggest questions looming over the movie has been who the next Black Panther will be. The first Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer teased the new black and gold suit, but it did not provide a full look at the suit or reveal who was beneath the vibranium costume. In the newly released footage, we see the brewing war between Wakanda and Talokan, the MCU's version of Atlantis. Several shots of Namor in action are shown, including glimpses of him using his ankle wings to fly. The Black Panther 2 trailer ends with another tease of the MCU's new Black Panther, as the person inside the suit sticks a superhero landing. The official trailer was released in conjunction with tickets going on sale for the Phase 4 MCU movie. It also continues to seem most likely that Shuri will take over the mantle of Black Panther. She is one of the main focuses of the trailer and will be at the center of the sequel's narrative. It makes sense that Marvel would then elevate her character further by making Shuri the MCU's new Black Panther. Although there is not a direct confirmation in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer that this is the case, the new Black Panther costume confirms a female is beneath the suit this time around. In other film news, Alec Baldwin has settled his lawsuit with the family of cinematographer Helena Hutchins who was killed on set. The original lawsuit, filed by Hutchinson's family, claimed Rust film producers failed to perform industry-standard safety checks and follow basic gun safety rules while using real guns to produce the movie Rust, with fatal consequences. A statement released by Baldwin's attorney Luke Nikas from the New York law firm Quinn Emanuel said, "Throughout this difficult process, everyone has maintained the specific desire to do what is best for Helena's son. We are grateful to everyone who contributed to the resolution of this tragic and painful situation." Baldwin, who is a producer as well as a star on the film when the tragedy occurred, is among up to 4 people who still may face criminal charges later this month over the death of Hutchins, a New Mexico prosecutor said in late September. The final police report on the shooting near Santa Fe is expected this month, at which time prosecutors will file criminal charges if warranted, District Attorney Mary Carmack Altwies told the state's finance board. And that's all we have got time for. What did you make of the Terminator movies? And have you seen the latest Black Panther trailer? Let us know. Thanks for watching.